Welcome back to the Pint-Sized Biker. On this episode we're going to be talking about British Customs Predator Pro silencers and specifically the dB killers to go into the end of them to slightly reduce the sound. 5 years ago I fitted the Predator Pros, have had no problems with them since, but they do give a bit of quite a loud rumble, and I just wanted to tone it down a bit, especially if I'm going to take the bike abroad. We're going to look at the sound difference between the two, I'm going to compare them, and I'm going to show you how I fitted them. Spoiler alert, I'm not a mechanic, so I did make a mistake with this, but if that means you don't by watching it, then it's worthwhile. So let's see how we got on. Going to start up the bike with a British Customs Predator Pro exhausts without the dB killers. Going to let it idle for a bit, and then I'll rev it up to 3,500 revs, so you have that as a baseline sound before we fit the dB killers later on. $38 from British Customs. These dB killers go straight in the end. As you can see, there's like a little O-ring around the outside and a grommet. So that grommet on the inside you have to adjust to fit into the exhaust. So it expands and it goes against the edge of the exhaust, so it sits in there snugly. But first of all, you have to just line it up, see if it fits to make sure everything's okay, and then you make the adjustment to that little grommet. Upon first fitting, I could see that I needed to make an adjustment. And it's at this point that I realised it's actually quite difficult filming what you're doing if you're doing any kind of maintenance on your bike. So apologies for that in advance, but quick little adjustment before putting the dB killer back into the end of the exhaust. It is probably at this stage, I should make it quite clear, I am not a mechanic. So me doing this is showing how I've done it, and hopefully some of the people will learn from it and not make the mistakes that I've made. And obviously mechanics will have better tools, so they'll do a better job than me. But this is just a little video to show where I got to at it. So as I tried to put it in there and tap it in, I could see that it just wouldn't go in enough, so it wouldn't go in beyond that O-ring, and I was trying not to overly tap it because I didn't want to, bend anything. And these instructions of hitting it with a rubber hammer are exactly from British Customs, and they have a video on YouTube that's the same. But I was finding it just wasn't quite going in, so a few more little adjustments just to see if I can get it to go in before tightening that grommet. So I decided at this point that if I get a little piece of wood, then I could probably hit it a little bit harder without the worry of damaging that kind of chrome end cap on it. But as I tapped it in, and this is a lesson to everyone else, it went in too far. So I was like, I don't like the look of that. We're only talking literally millimetres in, but it was irritating, and I knew that it would frustrate me and I'd want to change it. So I set to work at trying to pull it out. At first, without success. But then I had a bit of a brainwave, so I went to my Norton tool rag and found some tyre levers that I've had kicking around since 2004 when I changed the inner tube and changed the tyres on a Honda CG 125. So we'd see if that would work. And sure enough, with a little bit of jimmying each side, making sure I'd be gentle so as not to damage the chrome on it or the stainless finish or whatever it is on the end, so able to just pop it back out with the engine running, which allowed it to heat up a little bit, and just that extra movement gave it a bit more chance for it just to move slightly and that O-ring to grip the edge of the exhaust, and that looked much better. And then some final adjustments just to tighten that grommet so it just expands to the edge of the exhaust, so you know it's not going to go flying out when you go down the road. I haven't done this crazily tight, but tight enough so you feel it bite. and I'll keep checking it after a few rides to make sure it's okay. Onto the left hand exhaust, and everything went much simpler this time. So same process again, loosen that grommet so you know you've got enough room to fit it into the end of the exhaust, and then make any adjustments and then give it a bit of a tap to make sure it goes in. This time I did try it first of all with a piece of wood, but then I found that it actually was better if I just tapped it with the rubber mallet, keeping an eye to make sure it didn't go in too far, just being firm but positive with it. And then actually it went in much easier. It made me wonder what on earth did I do on the first one. And a quick look over to make sure everything appears to be okay. And all seemed good. I was happy with that. I was happy that both sides seemed to match up. Left or right looked the same. So next step was to start it up to see what it sounded like. Then out onto the road just to make sure there was no pops or bangs or anything untoward, and everything sounded fine. With that back-to-back test, I would say the Predator Pros without the DB killers has a much more deeper boom, rather than it being any different in terms of its decibels, though it probably is. The most noticeable thing was the deeper sound. It wasn't unpleasant with them in, but it's just a touch more tinny and perhaps a touch more puffy. But for me, I want to try them because I'm going to take the bike abroad. I don't want to draw attention to myself. And the British Custom Predator Pros as standard might. I mean, they might not, but I'd rather play it safe. There's no impact really on performance, not that I've seen so far. I hope that has been useful. If it has, give the channel a like and subscribe, and I will see you on the next one. Ride safe and enjoy the summer.